and Sean Cody.
This segment of Trojans Live is brought to you by Allstate. The Trojans are in good hands with Eric Ziskin. He is the Director of Recruiting and Player Personnel, which means today is his Christmas? I don't know. Christmas is always an exciting day. This was probably more chaos and pressure and stress for you, Eric. What have the last couple weeks been like as you guys have tried to close on the first half of this class and tried to do it with about half a coaching staff?
Yeah, I mean, you said it. It was really a mad dash of trying to keep all of the pieces together and keep it all organized while I actually got to go out on the road for the first time myself, which was a blast. And then also to be kind of the central hub of organizing and collecting all the information. But we did it, and we're here, and we're happy with how today went, and we're really proud of the guys we brought in.
Eric, talk about your role a little bit. I'm very new to the current state of recruiting, I guess. You're
used to being on the other side of it.
Yes, for sure. Talk about your role, Eric, and what role you provide for the coaching staff and what you kind of do during this day that's so important for the Trojan team.
Yeah, so the world of recruiting, this is my 10th season that I've been working with the team in various different roles, but mainly focused in recruiting. It's really changed quickly and a lot over the last couple of years. So especially since when we were recruiting guys like, we're always looking for guys like you, but from when you were being recruited, just the process and how it's been different now. But the main focus of my role is to get the coaches the information they need to get the job done and get the guys to sign. So between me and my staff of guys that do a great job with Gavin Morris, Ryan Miller, and Trey Johnson that work most closely with myself, we basically get the coaches everything they need. You know, the results, anything from the results of the last week's games to, hey, remember that you got to talk to this mom about that, and remember that this kid is allergic to green Skittles, but he really likes the purple ones. You know, whatever little piece of information we can provide the coaches so that they can really close the deals and get it done. That's where we're there to support.
I was a red Skittle guy for sure.
Don't all Skittles taste the same?
No, they don't. I was a prima donna. Eric probably knows that.
What did you say, Eric? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear over Sean's Skittles take.
No, I said that's exactly what it is. Everybody has their own thing, and we're there to really figure out what the key to that lock is.
Yeah, dealing with people like Sean trying to recruit, I mean, that must have been difficult. But I'm curious because you're talking about all the information you have to give coaches. Well, you all of a sudden had to integrate coaches on the fly in this process over the last couple of weeks, whether it's Coach Kingsbury, but a new defensive line coach at the very end, a new defensive backs coach. How did you sort of tell them? They all know how to recruit, but what did you need to tell them about USC and maybe the way that you recruit here or anything that they needed to know to be able to be a value add in this process?
Yeah, I mean, it was a full blitz at the end there. You know, you got to consolidate all the information and the relationships and everything you've collected really over almost 2 years of dealing with these kids and their families. So you got to kind of do a brain dump and get them all the key things as soon as possible and as quickly as possible and hope they can collect it. And it was really an interesting thing because obviously these guys know about USC and they have a little bit of background, but you're talking to these kids without them having a full, you know, Coach Helton can talk about USC and he knows it like the back of his hand, right, from the floor to the ceiling, the academics, the ins and outs. But the newer coaches, they got to talk more about themselves and their background and what they can do for the kid and let Coach Helton focus exactly on the parts about USC where he's the expert to support each other.
Eric, you talked about the kind of relationships you build with these people over this 2-year process. Talk about some of the players you're excited that ended up being Trojans today, and some of those guys that that the fans probably should learn about.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I've really come to learn more and more is how important the person behind the player is. Because at this level, everybody's big, everybody's strong, everybody's fast. Of course, some slightly more so than the others. But really what separates the guys like a Dory Jackson and Nelson Aguilar is the people. You know, how they treat people, how seriously they approach both the game and life off the field. And one of those guys that stood out this year to me was a guy, Drake London, the receiver from Moore Park, who also is going to play basketball for us. And just for example as to who he is and what his family is like, after his official visit, where we're showing him around town and giving him the time of his life, he and his entire family hand-wrote notes to our entire staff just to thank us for our time and the hospitality. And while it sounds like a really simple, small thing, that almost never happens, ever. And it just goes to show the approach and the professionalism he has with just life in general. And it's going to translate onto the field because he's got all the raw tools and athleticism to really be a dominant player.
That's a great story, and I'm very excited about him on the basketball court as well. Drake London, a guy who sounds like is going to try it in both sports and an impact player in both sports, not a guy who's just sort of a token basketball player. He's a big-time prospect there as well. You know, from the sort of player personnel side, Eric, I'm curious, you know, about the numbers and how much, you know, you looked at the roster and how far in advance do you look as you sort of, you know, look at this maybe like an NFL player personnel guy, you know, what were you attacking on this roster and what were the sort of numbers you had to crunch to you know get guys in now, will still be able to compete for the big fish, to get a lot of guys in the spring. 9 guys will be here in the spring. So it does seem like there was a lot of, you know, stuff you had to figure out behind the scenes to make all the numbers work.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's something that I try to look at least 2 years in advance at all times, because we definitely love, and it's a really, really good sign when a true freshman comes in and impacts. And those are the type of guys that we expect to sign and we go to sign that can come here and start and impact the team right away as true freshmen. But we don't really look at, okay, here's an outgoing senior at this position. Let's sign a true freshman that absolutely has to start right away.
Right.
That's not always the plan, and you're kind of hoping that they can come in and do it. Well, hope is not a great strategy. So we're trying to look at least 2 years in advance to see what kind of holes the team and the roster might have in it. And then, you know, certain things in the perfect storm hits at the DB position, the DB room this year, and you got to adjust and find the ones that we can grab at the end of the year that, of course, we always still feel like are the best players. But it's a work in progress and a fluid situation at all times, depending on some unforeseen circumstances that can always come up with the sport of football. So you got to keep up and adjust and keep on moving forward.
Eric, just real quick, you know, I just wanted to give you a hot lead. It might be more than 2 years in advance, but I got a nephew out in Hacienda Heights, man, who's been playing some real mean dodgeball, man. So you might want to keep your eye on him for future endeavors.
How many people actually do that to you, though, Eric? I mean, it must be all the time.
All day, every day. One of the things in recruiting, everybody has a guy.
Yeah.
Hey, I got this guy. You got to check him out. He's a guy. I'm telling you, this guy right here, he's a guy. This is my guy. I got one for you. Everybody has one.
Third grader.
Yeah, we got a
nephew.
Sometimes it's always worth a look because you never know where you might find one.
I know, right?
It's always worth it to check it out.
One day, that guy actually is going to be a guy, and you want to make sure you looked at his huddle page. All right, thank you, Eric Ziskin, for filling us in on all things recruiting. We appreciate we do this interview every single year, so we appreciate Jeezy for taking the time on a very busy day. Forget 2 points for safety. Try up to 20% with the Allstate Distinguished Driver Discount. Safe drivers can instantly save up to 20% on car insurance just for having a clean driving record, and that's on top of other discounts. Call 1-410 Los Angeles area Allstate agents today. We'll get Sean's take next on Skittles and other things. Stay tuned to Trojans Live.